Hello everybody, it is the end of the year and that means I'm contractually obligated to make a video on my top 10 favorite video games. Even though this channel is kinda 50-50 split of games and politics are definitely winning right now, I'll try and throw in a political joke here somewhere. Ben Shabibo. There, hope you're happy. Before I get to my main 10, I want to give an honorable mention to one of my favorite little discoveries, and that's these hidden cat games that you can get for like $2.99. They're delightful and feature any environment you could want to find a cat in. Want to find a cat in a castle? How about Britain? Or maybe a goth girl's bathroom? We've all been there, am I right? Anyway, on to my scientifically vetted and factually definitive list of my favorite games of 2023. There's so much to say about Alan Wake 2. I've mentioned it before, but I've come to think of it as in league with Twin Peaks: The Return and Deadly Premonition 2. Both games see older protagonists return, battling themselves in various ways, and they all serve as a way for their respective creators to reflect on the works that largely define their careers. And if Alan Wake 2 comes to define Remedy and Sam Lake, what a legacy. This is a game without a shred of cynicism, which is rare enough in modern AAA games. It asks big questions about fiction, stories, creators, and audiences, but instead of only pretentious pontificating, manages to balance the dark and light. It realizes that, like the creative process and experiencing art, games can be fun and goofy and don't need to be endlessly brooding. Don't get it twisted, this is still an immaculately crafted horror game that's in league with Resident Evil's all-time best efforts. It effortlessly recalls a golden era of games like Fatal Frame and Silent Hill without blatantly stealing ideas. It utilizes its seamless loading technology for puzzles and storytelling so well, I think it's easily the best example of a truly next-gen experience. I could go on and on. It's a game I played in short bursts because I was busy, but also because I didn't want to rush it. From the opening, you know they've stumbled onto something bold and wholly unique in the gaming ecosystem. If you're not convinced, tell me how many other psychological horror games about personal trauma also have playable musical numbers. Also, I demand justice for Mocha the Moose. Is Spider-Man 2 the best game this year? No. There's a solid argument to be made it's actually an inferior story to the first game's tightly paced and personal tale, but as an iterative sequel, it's an Arkham City level step up in quality, scale, gameplay, and ambition. The dual intertwining stories of Peter Parker and his protege Miles Morales stay true to their characters while also crafting a world unlike any other in comics or film where they get to interact from the beginning of their respective stories. No multiversal shenanigans needed here. I have minor misgivings about how quickly the tale wraps up, and I'll talk about the game much more in my massive upcoming Spider-Man essay. Also, do you think they ever explored each other's bodies? And, most importantly, where the hell's my web weaver suit, Insomniac? It's a tight race for best gaming twink of 2023, but I feel like Leon Bingo Bango Kennedy might have secured top honors. You gotta wonder at some point when Capcom is just gonna give up and put this kind of thing in the game themselves. Resident Evil 4 Remake is like a meme come to life. Like, how do you make one of the greatest games of all time better? It's like somebody just wrote, "make it better" on a whiteboard and somehow it became reality. Resident Evil 4 Remake is just that damn good. It takes one of the best games ever and arguably makes it better by playing on expectations and expanding the scale of gameplay beyond what was ever possible in 2005. And as I've shown in my short essay on asset reuse, it also has a hell of a DLC campaign with separate ways, which is what I'm grabbing footage from here. It's fitting, I'm reusing assets too, I suppose. From the characters to the ridiculously tight and responsive gameplay to the RE Engine's now trademark visual splendor, Resident Evil 4 Remake, like Resident Evil 4 before it, is the kind of adventure anyone should experience regardless of familiarity with the franchise or gaming in general. It sets up an exciting new future for Resident Evil while also putting a shine on a past adventure and is proof that a classic never goes out of style. HiFi Rush is the definition of a surprise game, coming from Evil Within devs Tango Gameworks launching day one on Game Pass out of nowhere and blowing everyone away with a high-octane overdose of style and character. Much like last year's excellent Metal Hellsinger, HiFi Rush is a rhythm-based action game where players guide slacker cyborg and lovable loser Chai as he takes on an evil megacorp, aided by an assortment of memorable and likable characters. It recalls a golden era of XY button mashing design on the Xbox 360 with linear levels and light upgrades, but the gameplay here is so tight, focusing on parrying, blocking, calling in allies, dodging, and comboing, all to the beat of a slamming pop-punkish soundtrack. It's a refreshing change of pace for a AAA exclusive title, focusing on pure gameplay and characters instead of massive open worlds with padded content. It's colorful, fun, challenging, and easily one of the best surprises of the year. Being a fair-weather Sonic fan is a bit like having an ex that you don't talk to often, but when you do, You always have sex, and about half the time it's alright, and then the other half is miserable and leaves you crying. But they've been on some sexual Tyrannosaurus Kama Sutra Krav Maga since Sonic Mania came out, and while Sonic Frontiers was mostly...
I mean, it's alright, like...
Sonic Superstars is the closest I've come to regaining the high of Sonic Mania. I love the pure 90s vibrancy in character designs, including returning obscure characters like Fang the Sniper from Sonic the Fighters and Amy's classic 90s design. The music, while not as banging as Mania, is still a respectable contribution to one of gaming's best music libraries. And in terms of gameplay, this game feels like an apology for Sonic Episode 4. It's not quite pixel perfect to the best in the Genesis or GBA eras, but it's fast, flashy, fluid. Sometimes literally fluid. Also, the game features some of the most inventive and challenging bosses the series has seen in years. The high price point likely scared off a few people, but if you can get this on sale in a few months, Sonic Superstars is a 90s flavored blast of nostalgia that's also one of the best platformers of the year. I love Yakuza games. Played them all, love them all. Except for you, Dead Souls, I'm still not ready to trust you yet. And while I really liked Yakuza 7 and Ichiban as the new protagonist, Kiryu will always be where it's at for me.
Because he's my best friend, he's my pal, he's my homeboy, my rotten soldier, he's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
So I barely took notice when Yakuza Gaiden, I'm not saying the full name, we don't have time for that, was announced because I knew I was going to play it. Super Spy gameplay tools? Yeah, sure. Kiryu on the run and trying to uncover a conspiracy? Been there, done that. Is any of that going to stop me from playing as Kiryu for the 7th time in a game I'm going to spend 50 plus hours in? Damn no. If you know Yakuza, you know what to expect. If you don't know Yakuza, here's a scene where you sword fight tigers wearing a pink feather lucha libre mask, and later you'll play crane games and go golfing. Later on, the story will probably make you cry when Kiryu takes a bullet for a puppy in a side quest or something. While there are some minor criticisms to be made for repeated content from previous games, the gameplay is as fun and fluid as ever, and the more focused personal story might be one of the best since Yakuza 0 or at least Judgment. Also, it's on Game Pass, so give it a try. When RoboCop Rogue City was announced, most people were like, from the cats who made that terrible Rambo game? But I was pogging out because it was from the cats who made the phenomenal Terminator Resistance, a game I've been ride or die for since day one. Developer Teon brought the same reverence to RoboCop Rogue City, effectively continuing the story of the original film as a playable RoboCop 3. At least the one we deserve, not the one we got. I've talked about the game more at length in a short review video I did, but the broad points are that the gameplay is fluid, gory, and fun, and the characters and world are faithful to the Verhoeven original satire. If you find yourself wanting more quality single-player games and don't mind some Eurojank, you need to check this one out. I have no idea about Warhammer, so much of this game leaves me with a battery of questions. How is this connected to Vermintide? Why am I fighting ghoulies? Hey, do you remember when Ghoulies 3 was the good one? How about that Wasp cameo in Ghoulies 2? Does anybody want to talk about the Critters franchise? These burning questions aside, Bolt Gun came out and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play that, and I was broke, so I bought it later, and it's exactly what I thought it would be. Friggin' awesome. The boomer shooter renaissance continues unabated due to funky little ideas like this game that perfectly capture the chaos and adolescent violence of 90s shooters while innovating with traversal melee combat and fresh environments and weapons. The combat is varied and flashy, the enemies fun to blow to bits, the challenge is thrilling without seeming insurmountable. Unlike other games on this list, Bolt Gun might not have broad appeal, it's a very one-note affair. But that one note is played in a consistent key of kicking ass and taking names, so if you love a good shooter, look no further. If you haven't seen my Jedi Fallen Order video essay, and let's be honest, you definitely haven't because it's been buried on my channel for over a year, I really loved Fallen Order, which is why I've been perplexed at barely seeing any recognition for Jedi Survivor, good or bad. This is a great sequel that smartly builds on a solid foundation in every way you could want, offering more finely authored exploration, customization, and gameplay options than ever before. Cal Kestis remains one of the best modern Star Wars creations, and Survivor's tale of love, loss, betrayal, and hope feels complete while still setting up intriguing directions for a third chapter. Also, I mean, look at him. Come on, I don't want to be like, but, back me up here. It feels entirely forgotten in an admittedly busy year for the industry, but Jedi Survivor is one hell of a game, offering a satisfying and unique journey full of memorable moments and characters, even if you aren't a Star Wars fan. I'm sure it's on sale now, so give it a shot if you need a good game for your holiday break, or just want to look at some baddies on your TV, who am I to judge? Baldurs Gate 3 is the kind of game you hear about all year, and if you're broke like me and really wanted to play it, you might start to cynically think, is it really that good? I can't be missing out on that much, right? And over time, you might forget about it and that you wanted to play it, but then you finally do, and it's the kind of game that is instantly recognizable as a banger.
Oh my god. I get it.
The sheer scale of the game is buckling, the depth to the characters and writing is stunning, and all that aside from the gameplay that seems to react dynamically to most possible options at your disposal. Or so I thought. I did run into a small issue with an early quest because I took a very cheesy route and killed a big enemy by fooling them into trusting me and then destroying a bridge as they crossed. It was a valid option and the game noted I had killed them, however, because they never arrived at a certain point for an assault, the next phase of the quest never began, which was annoying because I just had to move on to the next main quest phase. But small oversights are forgivable when the game allows for such a massive scale of freedom in how you approach your objectives. After years of Bethesda-style RPGs, it's amazing to see how Larian has expanded classic RPG mechanics to better represent the nearly unlimited options available in tabletop gameplay, instead of streamlining dialogue as much as possible at the expense of meaningful branching choices and unique dialogue options. Looking at you, Starfield. That being said, I am still only in the beginning phases of the game. Baldur's Gate isn't perfect, but it is damn impressive and every bit as good as the numerous award wins would have you believe. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in this world, at least until I beat the game, which I assume is romancing Karlach, because that's the only thing I really want to do in this fantasy world. And that's pretty much it. It's been a hell of a year for movies and games, and more notably this channel if you've been around and going through all my old content. And I want to thank everybody who's watched from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to get too weepy because this isn't going to be my final video for the year, that one is still coming up. But until then, I'll say if you enjoy my content and want to get sneak peeks at videos as they're being made, check out my Patreon to join these cool cats on the screen right now. I'll be adding a Discord soon for members, so keep an eye on that. For now, I want to thank you for watching and hope you look forward to what is coming up in 2024. Let me know what your personal games of the year are down below, and I hope you have a wonderful day.